Hello and welcome to an LSPS tutorial on simple forms. In this tutorial we will create a process and a human task which will have a simple form as its content, and we will also create a document with the same form. The form will display an input text box and a submit button. The text box will contain the value of the global variable as its initial value, and also it will be bound to the same variable, so that if we change the value, it will be stored in the global variable. First, let's define what forms are. Forms define the content and behavior of the content of to-dos and documents. Internally, forms are nothing but functions, so they can be called with parameters and they can define also their local variables. On runtime, a form creates its own execution context above the model context, so it doesn't interfere with the model context. The content of the context of the form is then merged into the model context only on submit. So let's proceed and create our form and our document and our process with the to-do. Let's go to the GoBPM Explorer. Let's create our project. Let's call it simple form. Let's delete these. And we can actually straight away create our module, which will be also called simple form, and click finish. Now we have also our module created with the module imports from standard library. Let's create our form. So right click your module, go to new, go to form definition. Let's call it simple form. The form was created with the container component. However, since we don't intend to use this as a reusable form, we can delete that. Now let's insert the vertical layout and the text box and our button. We said that we want our text field or text box to be bound to a global variable and also to display the variable value as its initial value. So let's create the global variable. Again, right click your module, go to new, go to variable definition. Let's create a variable called text of type string and initial value initial value. Save it. Let's go back to our form and let's define properties of our text box. So I have selected the text box. Now I go to the detail. Let's give it a label. The label will be value of text. As we said before, we want it to be bound to the to our global variable. So let's bind it to our global variable text. And we want it to have its value also as its initial value displayed. So this will be the placeholder. Note that whenever you are not sure about the parameters of a component, you can hover over the icon next to your parameter and it will give you some basic hints. Otherwise you might need to refer to the documentation. And now we see that we have an error on our button, so let's go to our button. Let's define the text, which is the only compulsory property. However, if we would now display the form as part of a to-do or document, and we would click the submit button, though the action event would be produced, it would not be caused by a listener, and hence it could not be handled in any way. The request response cycle would not be triggered. So let's create our listener. On the submit button, we go to the event handling tab and define a private listener. Automatically it is resolved into an action listener since we are defining it for a button We don't want any components to refresh when we click it. We don't want any validation, neither do we want to execute a handle expression of the listener. What we want is define the submit and perform it when the button is clicked. So we go to actions and we just check submit. Let's validate. Seems everything is valid. Let's click OK. Let's save our form. Now let's create a document. So right click your module, go to new, click document definition and click finish. Here we can define obviously multiple documents. We just need one for the moment. The title will be text change. This is a title that will be displayed in the process application. And the UI definition will be our form, which is called simple form. So we start typing, control space, and enter. And this is wrong. Because this is actually our variable. So again, and this is our UI component, so that's our form. We now want to set the access rights to true so that everyone has access. Now we have defined our document. What we still want to do is define our process with the to-do, and that will have the user task and render our form. So let's right click our module, go to new, click process definition, simple form, it will be BPMN pure, and let's click finish. Now let's insert non-start event. Let's continue with the, let's pick the task, and here from the human module of the standard library we pick user task. Let's click OK. And let's finish it with a simple end event. Now we need to define the properties of the user task. So let's go to parameters. Title again will be displayed in the process application. Set of performers. So let's define a set. We will define only the administrator as the performer of this task. So let's get person, since we don't want a role, and the name will be a string, and in our case it's admin. The UI definition again is our form, so let's not make the same mistake twice. We see it's in the form of a function call. Now we are ready to run our model. I have already connected my PDS to the embedded server. First, let's just upload it. So let's go to upload as model. I will switch to management perspective to make sure it's uploaded. Let's refresh our model instances. We see that none is running. Let's go to our browser and let's go to process application. I have already logged in as the administrator. If I go to documents, now I see that the text change document is available here and I can submit it. The document lives as long as the model is uploaded on the server, so it's not bound to any model instance. Let's go back to our PDS. Let's go to modeling and let's run our module directly from this perspective. We go to run as, click model. Let's check it is running. We see it is running. Let's open its details and check the values and the execution status. We see that the text variable has the initial value, and if we look at the diagram of the process, we see that the process is waiting on our text change task. So let's switch again to our browser. Let's go to to-do list. Now we have the text change to do here. Let's open it. Let's change the value. And click submit. When we click submit, the action event was triggered, the action listener we defined on the button caught the event, and the response, and this input entered the request response cycle, which processed it and submitted it. So let's go back to our PDS, and if we refresh, here we see our process is also finished, and the value of our global variable is changed now to the new value. This was a tutorial on simple forms. Thank you for watching.